today I will be covering functional neurological disorder and traveling. So I love to travel, and those people with FND and symptoms such as mine, such as anxiety, panic attacks, spasms, tics, fatigue, severe anxiety, these are things that you can also leverage when you're planning travels and when you're planning to go away with family or by yourself. I've tried to put together a list of things that have helped me when it comes to traveling, including a trip I just did for the first time by myself, which was a 20-hour flight to the US on my own, and doing that for a week with work. And so there are a lot of learnings that I had, and I've really tried to put these in a list together, and I'm going to be sharing them over this content. So first and foremost, it's so important to plan. Putting together an itinerary of your trip. So things such as your flights, your transfers, your accommodation, the activities you're going to be doing, trying to break it down so that you feel really comfortable around the things you're going to be doing. This is something really key that I think helps, is me understanding what's going to happen makes me feel far more comfortable and less out of my depth than already I am, being in a different place with my condition, really trying to minimize as much flare up as possible. And so being able to be across what the itinerary is, and you don't have to go over so much detail. It could be literally, the flight number, the airline, what terminal you need to be, what is the location you're going to, do you have transfers booked, how far is the accommodation, what are the activities for the first day versus the second day versus the third. I like to use Excel, but you can put it together in an email, you can use a Word document, notes, whatever you find comfortable. The more you can plan and get into that mind state that you're going to be traveling and where you're going, that really does start to set you up in a really good way as part of that initial travel process. Two, as part of things not to forget, is I start by putting together a not forget list. And you can start this, 1-2 months out from your holidays. And really it is a critical list of things that you cannot afford to forget. And then I make sure that I have a reminder or something on that day that I plan to travel, that there's that post-it on my bag or of that list, or I send a reminder to myself, something that I make sure that is visible to me, things such as my medication, things as my earphones, my earplugs, my fidget toys or items that I'm playing, things that are really key that you really can't afford to misplace on day of trip. I love this one, YouTube. Everybody loves YouTube. Do some research before you go on your trip. What I normally do is I will watch several YouTube clips about the location where I'm going, the hotel that I'm going, restaurants that I want to go to, anywhere that I know I'll be going. I see if there's any research or visual aid that I can find that will help me prepare and get my bearings kind of as much as I can before the event. Look, it's not going to be, completely foolproof, but this preparation, or as much preparation you can do beforehand, really does help, or it has helped me greatly when I've gone on these trips. There's already a lot that happens in addition to that, but the more I can plan for beforehand and feel comfortable, the better I know I will be when other things are thrown at me during those travels that I haven't planned. Four, really important one, if you do take medication, it's good to have a medication letter from your doctor that just outlines, Nada, she takes this, and this for this disorder. And it's a good way for you to have that information if you come across some countries where those medications are illegal or there are certain quantities that you're allowed to take for those. But it's really handy to have that. I also use a letter from my GP if I know I'm going to be in a situation where there is going to be a lot of people and I need to cut through. I've used it when I've been at an airport in Italy, for example. The queues were horrendous, and I started losing it in queue, and then I literally went up to security and showed them this letter, and they fast-tracked us through the disabilities area. So, you know, don't be fearful of being able to put your hand up for help in these scenarios. One thing that I have found hugely beneficial, which I didn't have when I went on that trip, was the hidden disabilities lanyard and bracelet that I have. They are a really great way for places like airports and train stations that are privy to it, and you'll know it's a sunflower icon. That they recognize that as a hidden disability, and that whilst you might not look physically disabled in any way, doesn't mean that you don't have those symptoms or difficulties. And so that icon, and when you wear that, I wear it to the airports when I am traveling. I wear it if I'm going to a really busy train place. People that work there have that symbol. You will actually see it near their ticketing booths or where there's entries, and so you'll be able to go through a certain area, or at least they'll be able to identify you as someone who's needing assistance. Incredible resource that I used on the trip just recently was accessibility access, which is something I actually didn't know was available pre-functional neurological disorder, but it's a care service. Many airlines have it, if not all. I know United had it, Delta had it, Virgin has it locally. Basically, you notify, when you purchase your tickets, you notify the airline to say this person will need special assistance actually going to the plane or in transit. And that's what I used it for. I actually notified the airline and said I'd need help between the transit spots. And they actually send someone from the airline to meet you at the door of the plane as you're getting out. Normally there's a group of people, and they will wait with you, and they'll take you either in a wheelchair or you can walk with them, and they will take you through the transiting process, similar to that identification of having a disability. They will walk with you, and they will kind of process you through more of a separate queue. Hugely helpful. I mean, I went from being able to walk and talk as I left the plane. I got so worked up mid discussion with the people as we were transiting that I ended up being in a wheelchair by the end, because I was shaking so badly and had broken down by that stage because I was so overwhelmed by everything. Hugely free service. I would strongly suggest, if you are traveling and need to transit specifically, I would look this up. But even if you're not, getting them to get you to the taxi or to the person picking you up, huge. One other thing that I use both on my travels and locally, really anywhere where it's a high sensory overload environment, earphones. And I'm talking about your headphones that you use when you're listening to music or listening to an audiobook, but then also headphones to just drown out music. You know the traditional ones that you could buy, the disposable ones. Now, ones I use are loop, and I've got several pairs, ones that I wear for concerts, ones that I wear at big functions. I was at a conference with 2,500 people. It was full on. And whilst I couldn't wear sunglasses in the auditorium, I definitely put in my headphones, and that just took the edge off. I also used it for after parties that I went to for that work conference. Hugely make a difference. I don't know how you are with sensory overload, but it takes its toll on me. And so having the earphones really do kind of take the edge off a scenario, that you can kind of refocus yourself and be able to get through a particular situation. That helps as part of these things. And again, one thing that I'm always mindful of is I'm very self-conscious when I'm in these kind of environments and I'm feeling incredibly overwhelmed. So what I look for are things that aren't going to draw attention to me necessarily, but are going to hugely help me. And so, earphones are definitely one of those things that help me, and they're small and they can pop them in and nobody sees them. Also fidget toys, sensory toys that you can get, which is something quite small normally that you can have in your hand, or you can listen to audiobooks through your headphones, or you could be listening to a podcast. These distraction methods are great if you're having to get through an environment that is really challenging in way of loads of people, loads of music, loads of lighting, or things that are going to really stress out your sensory elements. I found that, you know, using distractions makes a huge difference, and really it's up to you. You can get quite creative with that, from the toys, like I said, to listening aids, and you know, it's always, if possible, be with someone. You know, that makes always a huge difference. If you do have a companion, or you have an amazing assistance dog. Unfortunately, I couldn't take Micro with me on my travels, but I love going with him when I'm going to a place where by myself, and if it is somewhere local, I'm always with Micro. When you are going on a long trip, one thing that I constantly have to remember, and I think has made a huge difference in my travels, is doing things step at a time. This was a technique that I actually picked up from therapy, where it used to be day at a time, but when a day would be too overwhelming because there was so much to do during a day, it would be, okay, let's just take an activity at a time. First, I need to get ready. And so I would get ready, and I'd literally only focus on what was needed to happen during that getting ready: brushing my teeth, washing my face, getting dressed, making sure that, you know, I'm presentable. Okay, great. Next, have I packed? Yep, do last check. Focus solely on that. Once I've completed that task, I'm like, okay, what's next? And this is where the planning bit comes in really handy, and the to-do list, not to forget. These things in preparation makes it on the day so much easier, that you are literally ticking boxes. And so rather than going, oh my God, I'm going to be traveling that day and I've got so much to do, and then you spiral from right at the start, taking it step by step in each of these activities really breaks it up. And then that way it's less overwhelming for you. It's like the next item is, I need to take a taxi. Okay, I got to catch one. Okay, so first you order the taxi, you get in the taxi. Okay, now I got to get to the airport. Breaking it down at that level can make a huge difference in getting through a travel process. Panic attacks. I just recently, as part of my travels, was going great. I was on the way through the airport with my husband and son, making it all the way through, and literally was saying goodbye with my lanyard, about to walk through processing, and that's it. My brain clicked into full flipping of the lid. Oh my God, I'm going on this trip by myself. The panic attack. My tears came, the spasms came, it was cognitive, like it was just, and it was made worse by, as soon as I went around the corner and left my son and husband, there was a cast of at least 1,500 people waiting to be processed through security. So there's me, complete breakdown, shaking, literally standing next to a pole, hoping that no one's going to see me, which obviously they could. And it's just insane that joking and laughing minutes prior to full breakdown, barely able to walk because I'm shaking so badly, and just the spiral that happened afterwards. It's how do you prepare for things like that? And one thing that I do as part of my planning process is prepare for panic attacks and know what my escape route is in such situations, because you have to have that. The reality is no planning is going to be foolproof that you won't have symptoms flare up. But what do you do in those scenarios? So one of the things that I do is I have a place that I know I need to get to, and similar to doing step by step, what I do is I try and focus on my bags as they're going through that process, and just focusing on the people that need to get me to where I need to get to, and the floor. So I don't actually look around. I put the kind of blinkers on, and I focus on purely that. And I watch my bag as it's going through security, look at the floor, get my bag, look at the floor, look at the floor. And then once I'm out of that process, and you kind of take in the general aspect, but you laser focus on just the floor and just keep focusing on that floor and nothing else, and try and shut that out. And that's where the headphones come into play. But then my end goal is getting to a space where I know I will feel safe, I will feel comfortable, and I can ground myself and actually just bring myself back to normality. And so normally for me, I knew that I had lounge access, and I knew where that would be because I'd just gone on holidays not so long before. So as soon as I got through security, I could not focus on anything bar the path to get to the lounge. And again, blinkers. And I don't know how you are, but with my FND, if I have a task, it's like laser, like just go to the lounge, just go to the lounge, just go to the lounge. I can do this, I can do this. And I get to the lounge, and then I know that I am safe, I am comfortable. There is less people there. If I need help, I don't have to go through thousands of people to get to that help. There will be someone close by that will be able to help me. You don't always have a lounge. So, make note of where are the bathrooms, where are the, sometimes they have a parenting room or they have a prayer room. See if you can identify, there is always toilets. So, make sure that when you are going somewhere like that, that you are aware of where these things are, just so that you have a plan for an out if things get too much. Valuables is another key one. So I ended up losing my smartwatch on my travels. On the plane, I was sleeping, I was annoyed by it, and I must have loosened it, what have you. It ended up being left behind because when I got there, again, I was in my mindset of, I'm at a new airport, I got to get off, I got to find the people that are going to help me. Again, that's spiraling. Being on my own was really hard on this trip. And so valuables and the little things, they get, put into second place because I'm so focused on getting me physically somewhere where I need to be, where I will feel safe, I will feel comfortable, there will be people I know. And so one thing that I learned on this trip was make sure that valuables are put away. It's almost like you're a toddler and just anything of value needs to be put somewhere where it's indestructible or can't be lost. On the way home, I almost lost my phone because again, it slipped in by the seat. But the good thing was I had charms on a link, like a wristlet on the phone, which was great because it was, bright colors. And when I was searching underneath, it came up straight away. So also having, similar to your suitcase, having a ribbon on it or some sort of marker on it, it's really important to make sure that your valuables are put away somewhere safe during travels or transit, or they have something that will make them easily noticeable or easy for you to find, like a tracker as well. Okay, I've covered off quite a lot there. And I guess one of the really important things to know as part of your travels, and the last thing that I'm going to mention as part of this clip, is time and taking a breath and realizing, you are doing amazing. You are actually out of your depth. Me going on a trip by myself was huge, but nowhere during that trip did I say, oh, amazing job, Nada, you're killing it. During that trip, it was in flight mode the whole week that I was away till I got home. And so, a valuable lesson for me is time. Put in as much time as you can during your travels to allow for you to recalibrate during the travels. And that might be, making sure that the transit time between flights is enough for you to get some time out to rest or to read a book or to have a snack, or, just taking that time to reset regularly And, it is about checking in on yourself, making sure that you are not go, 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 go consecutive, because that in itself will burn you out during your travels. And I feel like that did. And that's why I had to take like a week off. Yes, I had the flu, but I was so wound up and spiraled after that insane week of activities, day, night, day, night, day, night. I did not take enough time out to make sure that I was checking in on myself, taking rest breaks, making sure that I am taking time to eat, exercise, and look after myself, as well as doing the travels. So, time is something, I know, not necessarily always something that we can have, but even taking 10 minutes out every 2 hours, is really important. Even every hour if you can, great. But make sure you are having regular check-ins, not once a day, not twice, several times throughout the day. Make sure you're taking a rest moment for you, taking a moment to sit down and have a cup of tea or have a snack or have a lie down. So important to be checking in and recharging yourself during your travels to make sure that you can enjoy the whole activity. I hope these have been helpful. Put any comments you like in put any feedback in the comments. Would love to hear from you.